Action. Okay, guys, I wanted to make a little video about interracial relationships and why they fail. My thoughts on it, my experience on it, and just reading and hearing a lot of people on YouTube and other sources. And most experience that I have from it is from family and friends. So when I was younger, one thing that I thought the main issue with interracial relationships, why they do not work, was because of the shocking culture, differences in culture. Because growing up, one question I was always asking myself is, why don't I see a lot of interracial relationships in the present life? When I'm walking around, how come I don't see that many, black and white people? That question was always on my mind. Like something must be wrong. Like what's the reason that is wrong? And so I was always thinking that it has to do with the cultural fact. But as I grew older, reading a lot about psychology and the attachment theory. Attachment theory that talks about how your upbringing will shape your future, your life as an adult. I mean, through that theory, we actually learned that we are children in adult forms. So we have the same behavior that we had as a child, the same coping mechanism. Things that will make us angry when we were children. Our reaction are the same reactions that we're having as adults. Let's say there was some type of confrontation when you were a child, someone hurt you, so let's say your reaction would be to start crying, and as an adult you'll probably have the same reaction. Or if your reaction was start being aggressive and talking bad, then that would be your reaction as an adult too, in those situations. So as I grew older, I started realizing that maybe it's not the fact that culture is, the big missing piece in interracial relationships. But I think as I grew up and learning more about my own upbringing, growing up in an African household, one thing you have to realize if you're a white person watching this, and I also told this to my ex, that unfortunately, most Africans, when we grow up in our homes, there's no love in that home. If you first of all look at the parents, it's very seldom that you see the parents holding hands, kissing, hugging. You you rarely see that. I mean, I don't remember one time that I saw it in my home. Okay, maybe once or twice, but it didn't happen regularly. So growing up like that, you don't really see the connection, the behavior. You don't learn the behavior to have towards your partner because there's a lack of it growing up. The only thing, or most of the things that you see your parents doing, is either being neutral, not talking too much, or having discussions. Most of the times having discussions. And if you're fortunate enough, then you have parents who don't fight, physically. They just have discussions. And the next level of unfortunate would be the level of them, having hard discussions and things being thrown and stuff. But the second thing in growing up in most African families, you have parents are your biggest haters. That's the way. That's my linkage through through my path of getting successful and wealthy. Is your parents are really haters. They're really haters because when you do great things, they don't uplift you. They don't tell you, "Oh, you did such a great job." It's just like neutral state in them. They expect you to do great, and when you do great, even if you do greater than you should have had, your teachers tell you, "Hey, your child was overperforming." It's not like your parents gonna be like, "Oh, wow, hallelujah." It's just like, "Okay, I expect that." You see, they expect things, but in their expectations, they don't give you positive feedback and try to uplift you. But when you do something bad, they're gonna be there, nag you, and tell you, bad, negative things. "Oh, you're such a bad child. You're not smart. You're an imbecile." They're gonna tell you all type of things. So you grow up in that environment of having parents that never gives you positive feedback. They never tell you you're beautiful. They never tell you you're smart. It's only the negative things that they say. And saying this to the camera now, I remember my ex, she always used to tell me that you never tell me positive things. So when she told me that, I immediately, through my reading of attachment theory and psychology, I can already draw that in from my childhood of my parents never telling me anything positive. And when they did tell me something positive, I don't really have like an instant memory right now when they've told me that, because the negative feedbacks overrules by many folds, the positive feedback. So growing up, like, I understand now that I am a child in a adult form. I have my childlike behaviors and reactions that are present in my adult life. So that was one of the things I wanted to mention. The other thing, I mean, society-wise, one thing people have to realize is, especially white women. I mean, if you look at it, because racism has been present for a long time. I mean, here in Europe and in the U.S., evolved countries, the level of racism has decreased since 50 years ago, 100 years ago. It's more acceptable now to see interracial relationships and people not having comments. Maybe they have comments in their head, but they won't come up to you and tell you bad things. So, and also, the culture, the way we're going forward now in the future, it is becoming more acceptable, and not only acceptable, but the mainstream narrative in Western society is to push towards interracial relationships. You want these light-skinned babies. And most of these white women, they want these light-skinned babies because they've been brainwashed and programmed to think that they're beautiful, you know? If we try to bypass the aspect of what beauty is, I mean, if you try to look at it from a natural standpoint, you would think that a baby that looks like you is the beautiful baby, because you like your own skin, you like your hair texture, you like your way of being, you like everything. But society has tricked both white and black people to like the other way around. You see, you like for me, it has tricked me into liking only white women. That's one thing. That's one program that I've been removing the past years from my head, because I know that the society, how I've grown up, the movies that I watched as a children, has portrayed the black woman as something bad. Every time I've been watching, growing up, this series. First of all, there was always a lack of representation of black women and black children. And second of all, when they were presented, when they were on the movies or in the series, there was always something that the white kids would nag about. It could be the afro, oh, look at your afro, it's everywhere, it's not clean, it's blah, blah, blah. And oh, look at your skin, it's bad, like you're not white as us, So there was always that brainwashing going on in my head, and every other black kids, and also the white kids, because the white kids watching this are being programmed to dislike white women and the white color and the white race. No, not white, the black. So the white kids are being programmed into disliking the black man and the black woman. And at the same time, the black kid is being programmed to dislike himself, his hair, and other black people. So what I'm trying to go is, the most white women don't know what black people go through, whether it be men or women. And I know black women have it a lot harder when it comes to emotionally, how they're being treated in society. First of all, we live in a society where there's only men and female, and men are physically stronger and mentally stronger and emotionally stronger in a general sense. So it's only natural that the black woman would have it a lot harder growing up in this society, because she's gonna be more susceptible to white racist men attacking her in those three different areas, whether it be physically, mentally, or emotionally. So, but the thing I'm trying to say is that white women, they don't really see, since they don't know how hard it is for either black men or black women to grow up. They don't know the struggles that will await them, their children, their mixed children, the mulatto children when they grow up. They're not prepared for that. They don't know how to handle. Sure, everything can be learned afterwards, but handle their hair, handle their skin, handle the way they eat, because it's a known fact that most black people are lactose intolerant. So we have what's optimal for us isn't optimal for white people. And so there's all these differences, and also the three aspects that will be portrayed on your mulatto kid: the physically, the mentally, and the emotional. So growing up as a white woman, you won't know really how to handle these facts. You won't know how to uplift your child and educate it. So unless you have the black male who is aware of these facts, then you're gonna grow up with a mulatto kid who unfortunately will go through the brainwashing as most other kids. They won't really know their own self-worth. They won't see themselves as someone important. They will be in a bad situation. So in conclusion, I think those are the main reason. I mean, the main reason is the psychology part. The main reason is the psychology part, because reading in psychology, these different attachment types, you can be one that's I'm gonna try to translate this from the Swedish that I've read to English, but there's actually four parts. Well, this one we're gonna skip is the children that's gone through really horrible things. It can be rape or really like beating them every day. But so we're gonna keep that one aside. But the first one is the positive one. That's the child that has grown up in a positive environment with parents who are uplifting them and listening to their emotional needs. When the child is crying, that's one thing that I forgot to mention. In African homes, mostly, bro, when the child is crying, it's gonna be like, shut the fuck up, or I'm gonna beat you so you have a reason to cry. You see? So when a child is crying because something, I don't know, maybe your sibling took your toy, or you fell somewhere, you're feeling hurt, that disconnection, that the parent that doesn't tell you to come here, give you a hug, but instead threatens to give you a punch or something, that's that's horrible. But so the comfortable, you have the child that's grown up in a good place, emotionally, physically, and mentally. And the second one, these two types are, one of the types is, it could be a child that's grown up with parents that are not positive but not negative. They're like so how do you say, they prioritize their careers and other things instead of prioritizing the kid. So there can be certain times of the day, of the week, that they prioritize time, they devote time towards the child, but the rest of the time they prioritize everything else. So the child will grow up not having the needs fulfilled, and in that, because of that, that child will be very needy when it comes to emotion. They can be like a lot of the examples are women, who, if you don't text them within 1 hour, 2 hour, one day, they're gonna feel like the whole world is falling apart, bro. You need to answer now, or they're gonna disconnect you. They're gonna remove your number and go their own way. So that was the second part. The third part is the child that grows up and becomes an adult who has a really hard time to attach emotionally to their partner. And it can become, it depends the severity, but after a day, a month, you will feel like, hey, you need some distance from this partner. It's getting too close, You're not used to closeness in your childhood. So when a partner comes, you're like, your body will start a fight or flight mode. And since it don't want to fight, it gonna activate the flight. It wants to leave. So we're gonna come up with all kinds of excuses to not continue the relationship with the partner. And that's the part where I feel I have the attachment issue. And I told it to my ex and my previous ex too. I still suffer from that part. But so most African kids, they grow up in the three bad ones that are really hard to cope with. And if in contrast, you look at the white kids, I'm the I would say not the huge like majority, but a lot more from the white race children are raised in the first attachment theory, which is growing up in a loving family. So when you have this one trying to connect with the two of these, there will be a match. It won't be a match. It will be confusion. So that's where I see that a lot of interracial relationships, you have the white woman who comes from a little stable house, and you have the black man who comes from the other side, and even the black woman. Even the black woman, when she's being approached by a white man who has had a good upbringing and try to link up with a black woman who's had one of the two others, it would be a mismatch. I mean, culturally, you can accept each other's culture, foods, language, and traditions. But if you have a partner that you feel like you can't connect with, eventually that love will start to diminish. And I mean, if you don't have the love part, and small things just start to, start to nag you, then there won't be much left to do than to leave that relationship. So, those are my thoughts on why interracial relationships are so hard to work, and mostly why they fail. I think I'm really sure that the attachment theory is the big issue, and why it's not working. And a lot of other things are just attributing factors. So that's my take on it.